Hey everybody, what's happening? Hope you guys are doing good today. It is August 21st and it is super late in the day for Bo, right? It is, let's see, 3:02 p.m., 3 o'clock Devo, so it's a little late, but I had a long prayer session. Let me tell you, 8 hours, right up to Sholo and back, just like that. Boom, boom, right up there, early in the morning, jump right back. Anyway, it's good to be in kind of the house of Devo to get in the Word a little bit. My name's Bo Willette, and these are my devotions. And for those at Calvary Christian Fellowship, welcome. Glad you're in the house. These are my Through the Bible devotions. That's right. I just go through the Bible. And if you've never gone through the Bible, well, now's your time. You could pick up where we're at right now, kind of at the end of Job, and you could kind of just keep going with us and start learning more about the Bible. It's amazing how many things we learn about God, about nature, about us, about all kinds of things if we just read through the Bible. So you could always check out the archives right there at my YouTube channel at Bo Willette. So if you're streaming on YouTube, then you already know kind of where we're at. You see all the YouTube, obviously the YouTube videos. But if you are on Facebook, you need to at some point jump over to YouTube just to check out the archives. Of course, Facebook always has like a list of archives, so you can check them out there. But hey, anyway, let me say hi to my friend Paula. Hope you're doing well. I saw that you were already in the house. You're doing awesome. And God, I don't really expect too many people to be in today. They maybe get it on the archives, but it's kind of a tough thing to, figure out sometimes on a Monday because that's my day off. So usually I get up really early, 4:30, get my stretching going. And lately I've been just kind of going, hey, I just want to pray and seek the Lord. So I get on my bike and that's the motorcycle and I just go ride. And man, the Salt River was beautiful. So many beautiful things. Remember, me and Dave Robson will be playing at, what is it? The Way of Bean Coffee Club in Oracle, Arizona. That's in Oracle, Arizona, just a little bit up north, not too far, but it's a really nice trip. It's a little cooler up there, but me and him are going to be playing some guitar instrumentals. He's going to do steel string. I'm going to do a little electric and classical guitar, and it should be pretty fun for sure. And we get 2 hours, 6 to 8. So it's not too long. They usually have some goodies there. And, of course, coffee and all the lattes and cappuccinos and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll see you there Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Okay, Job. Finally, God is going to answer. And let's see what God says. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Interesting. From a whirlwind? What's that all about? Kind of weird, but not weird. If you've read the Bible, you know that God veils himself. And I know that might sound weird to people. People might go, well, why doesn't God just kind of show up on the scene? Why is there always a veil when it comes to God? Because this is the dominant theme throughout the Old Testament, by the way, right? Is that God is separated from human beings very early on in the Bible, and then there's this kind of, there's these, if you will, not apparitions, but there's this person that comes on the scene in the form of a human, and that's God at times. And the veil is the body, right? The body's kind of has, in a sense, veiled God of this glory that he has as a characteristic of himself as God. God is holy, and God dwells in unapproachable light, and God is glorified. He is exalted. And yet this exaltation, in a sense, gets not, I don't know if I want to say diminished, but gets veiled in this humanity. So he shows up sometimes as human. Sometimes there is these apparitions, the glowing bush, the pillar of fire, the cloud, the tempest. You see all those kind of references in the Old Testament. There's incredible pictures in some of the prophets of the place where God dwells. And it's just amazing, outstanding, you know? And so we shouldn't be surprised that it says Job, the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. We even saw in Elijah's day, one of the prophets of Israel, there was this kind of veiling of God when God speaks to Elijah the prophet. So we see again, there's this distance, just repetitive distance between humans and God. So God says, "Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words?" Now, I would have loved to hear the voice, of what this sounded like. I mean, that must have been epic, I would imagine. But it says, "Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words?" Uh-oh, we're in trouble, right? Remember, Job says, "Hey, man, I can't wait to have my day in court with God." Sometimes I think in a day, I just don't even realize like who God is. Like sometimes I'm like, I think I know who God is, meaning the vastness of God, the bigness of God. But then it seems like a lot of times I don't get it. Like I kind of act like God is somehow less than the person that we should give reverence to. Man, I wish if God were here, I would tell him a thing or two. Have you ever had that attitude when you were growing up? Man, I'll tell God, that's for sure, man. God, come over here. I'll tell him what's wrong with the world he created. Look at what he's done. Blah, 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 blah. There's no justice. There's no this, that happens, this happens. That's all in the book of Job, by the way, right? We've read all those kind of complaints and statements. And so now God comes on the scene. He says, man, you guys are ignorant. You guys don't even know what you're doing. Jesus says, "Forgive them, for they" what? "Know not what they do." Interesting. God speaks to Job, says you're ignorant. Jesus on the cross says they're ignorant. They're still ignorant. And I imagine today, I was watching CBS News. I just stopped real quick to grab something on the motorcycle ride. And I saw CBS News up there, and the talking heads were going at it, and I just had one thing that hit my brain: ignorance. Ignorance. Just a ton of yuck. Just blah, 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 blah. All the news, who knows if they're even reporting the right thing? Who knows what slant it has? I mean, is it really true? How much of it's true? What sections of it are true? Is it a half truth? Is it fully true? What kind of reporting went into this thing? You never know. And it feels so wrong. Watching news feels just wrong. It feels kind of icky, spooky, stuff. It just feels 1984. It's so Orwellian now. It's hard to do it. It's hard to watch it. If you're watching it out there, man, you're amazing. I mean, claps to you, because boy, man, it feels like 1984, definitely the Orwellian book. Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Hey, Job, I got some questions for you. Here's the questions God asked Job. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying line? What supports its foundations, and who laid its cornerstone? As the morning stars sang together, and the angels shouted for joy. Now, I love the idea that there was a lot of music, by the way, when the world was being created. That's kind of cool. The music makers. It's amazing how God is very much into music. I can get into a whole talk on that for sure. One of these days I'm going to have to put together something on that. But here, just an idea. Music, beautiful, right? Music certainly can do so much for our soul, so much for our mind, so much healing. Love that Paula loves the tunes, the beats, right? Just having a good beat sometimes can really uplift us in a day, you know? But he says, hey, Job, where were you when I laid the foundation, when I created everything, when I laid the foundations? Hey, you know, where was I? That's right. I am a little guy, right? I'm not that big, not that smart. No matter how smart you think you are, no matter how many books you've read, how many cool ties you can have into books, you can quote this, you can quote that, quote this, doesn't make a zilch of anything. It doesn't do anything. The only thing that's going to do anything, the Bible says, is the words of God, right? Jesus' words are life. Right? Paul says, where's the philosopher of this day? Hasn't God made foolishness the wisdom of the world? Right? You know, he puts to, in a sense, he humbles the wisdom of the world. Yeah, we can have all the knowledge of books in the world, but still, we ain't the creator. We're totally small, and we definitely need saving. So he said, hey, who kept the sea inside its boundaries as it burst from the womb, as I clothed it with clouds and wrapped it in thick darkness? For I locked it behind barred gates, limiting its shores. I said, this far and no farther will you come. Here, you proud waves must stop. Have you ever commanded the morning to appear and caused the dawn to rise in the east? Have you made daylight spread to the ends of the earth and bring an end to the night's wickedness? As the light approaches, the earth takes shape like clay pressed beneath a seal. It is robed in brilliant colors. The light disturbs the wicked and stops the arm that is raised in violence. Have you explored the springs from which the seas come? Gosh, God makes light. Ooh, that's pretty intense, because light's pretty intense when you study it. Have you explored the springs from which the seas come? Have you explored the depths? Do you know where the gates of death are located? Have you seen the gates of utter gloom? Ooh, the gates of death. That sounds kind of spooky. As it starts rumbling outside with thunder. It really does. Woo! Oh, man. Just when I said the gates of death, the thunder came. That's kind of cool, huh? Little soundtrack going on. And it says, do you realize the extent of the earth? Tell me about it if you know, Job, right? Where does light come from and where does darkness go? Can you take each into its home? Do you know how to get there? But of course you know all this, for you were born before it was all created, and you are so very experienced. Is this God using some sarcasm here? Oh my, right? This is pretty awesome. God using a little bit of some sarcasm. I think that's pretty cool. Sometimes we get these ideas, I know I did, about God, that God was kind of this stiff, kind of necked person. You know, I'm trying to think, like, back in the day, you know, what do you think of when you think of God? You know, you think of Santa Claus, and you think of old people, and you think of, you know, clouds, and you think of, like, you know, garments, giant long garments, and, you know, stoicism. You know, you think of Roman haircuts, you know, and, you know, those short haircuts that look like you're from Rome. And, you know, gosh, all that stuff. And yet, God's got a sense of humor, too. Ooh, right, Job? And he says, have you visited the storehouses of the snow or seen the storehouses of hail? I have reserved them for weapons for time of trouble, for the day of battle of war. Where is the path to the source of light? Where's the home of the east wind? Who created a channel for the torrents of rain? Who laid the paths for the lightning? Who makes the rain fall on barren land in a desert where no one lives? Sometimes in Arizona we have that. You go out there in the middle of nowhere and you're in the middle of nowhere, right? Who sends rain to satisfy the parched ground and make the tender grass spring up? Does the rain have a father? Who gives birth to the dew? Who is the mother of the ice? Who gives birth to the frost from the heavens? For the water turns to ice as hard as rock, and the surface of the water freezes. I tell you, a scientist, man, just would love this, right? Kids that are into science, they just, oh yeah, how does it freeze? How does that work? How does this work? How does that work? Right? How things are made, how things work. I mean, God says, where were you when all the natural laws are put into place? Job, do you really know? Now, God doesn't say this in a sarcastic way to, in a sense, put Job down, but it's to make a point to Job, right? Hey, Job, I got a purpose and a plan. You need to trust me. You know, where were you? Do you really know everything? Do you really understand everything? Do you remember there's a backstory? Do you understand that? Do you understand all the spiritual things that go on? No, I don't. It should lead me to humility. All this kind of unknowing should lead me to a bit of humility to go, man, I really don't know that much. I might know some things. I might go to college and get a piece of paper that says, hey, you know some things. But in general, it's just not that much. There's so much more to know. And so we should tread in a humble way in life, you know, according to nature, right? That's what Stoics would say. Stoicism. You know, according to nature, walk humbly, meaning look at where you're at in nature. You know, that should humble you a little bit. You know, are you as big as that? Are you as great as this? Do you know how this works? Do you know how that works? Then we should walk in a humble way. He says, do you know the laws of the universe? Verse 33, can you use them to regulate the earth? Can you shout to the clouds and make it rain? Everything's so fine-tuned on this planet, isn't it? Doesn't that just make you go, whoa, dude, that's crazy. Everything's so fine-tuned. What if this law was a little tweaked here? What if that was over there? What if this was over here? It would be so different, but we're all just tuned right for us to be here. Pretty cool. Can you shout to the clouds and make it rain? Can you make lightning appear as it causes it to strike as you direct, like it is outside? Who gives intuition to the heart and instinct to the mind? Intuition. Who gives us the intuition, right? The instinct in the mind. Who gives us the instincts that we have, right? Fear instinct, sex instinct, hunger instinct, all these different instincts that we have. Security instinct, right? All these different things that are within us. Who gives us the intuition, the mind, right? To think through things, to ponder things, right? Who gives us this stuff? Who gives us the laws of logic? Who gives us all this stuff? That's what he's getting at, you know? It's a lot of good, what we call metaphysical questions here. Things that I know before I was a Christian, I'd be like, oh, it's science, 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 science. Science gives you these things? No, science just helps you understand what they do, you know? But then you have to ask the metaphysical question, where does it come from? And now you start getting into the religious. Now you start getting into the God thing. Now you start getting into the deity, right? Metaphysics, where does it come from? And that's what life should, the natural course of things should be in our human existence. We start realizing that we're all bound by nature. We realize that. We should realize that as we get older. You're bound by nature. You can't fight it. You're in the box. You can't get out of it. You got cells. You can't not have cells. This is the organization of cells is what constitutes life. All around us, we're all bound by different laws that bind us, hold us together. We live within these laws, even laws that you can't even see, laws of logic, so we can talk and communicate to one another. We're all bound to these laws. If we weren't, we couldn't do that. We couldn't even live together, couldn't communicate together. Yeah, we all are bound by the same laws. We have to ask, where do these laws come from? If there's laws, maybe there's a law giver. Something cool to think about today, right? Am I, as a human being, drawing right logical conclusions of my existence? As a human being, am I drawing correct logical conclusions? The most natural logical conclusions is that I'm bound by laws. And the next question could be asked, where do these laws come from? And that leads us upward, looking upward. That's right. So who is wise enough to count all the clouds? Who can tilt the water jars of heaven when the parched ground is dry and the soil so hardened it clods? Whoa, that rumble was awesome. Can you stalk prey for a lioness and satisfy the young lion's appetites as they lie in their dens or crouch in the thicket? Who provides food for the ravens when their young cry out to God and wander about in hunger? Wow, Jesus said, hey, don't worry about your life. Remember those little birds? Hey, God takes care of them. Here, God says to Job, hey, do you take care of all this stuff? Are you the one who's, made the ecosystem the way it is? Man, as it starts to rain and thunder and pour outside, very cool. So I think this Devo is just one where we kind of have to ask some questions about just our human condition. Am I making that right step to start saying, okay, I'm going from understanding who I am as a human being and that I live within this bubble of life, what we call life, and all the laws in it, and now am I starting to make the logical questions of, okay, where do these laws come from? How does this happen? Is this just random stuff going on? Or is there laws and there's a lawgiver? Is there an intellect behind all the fine precision? And so, this is a very cool way of looking at things, and something we should just naturally do as humans. This is something that is part of the human, if you will, experience, right? We look out, and now we start looking up, right? And I know in my life, you start looking out, and then you go, man, dude, I'm a mess. Like, why am I such a mess? Why are things the way they are? And then pretty soon you start looking up. And you start going, man, there's got to be something more. There's got to be a greater intellect. And of course, it starts becoming, I don't know if there is, but then a guy like Jesus comes on the scene and he reveals the Father. That's what he's come to do, is reveal the Father. And wow. And this is where, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus becomes so important, especially to look into. So very cool Devo, not a long Devo, but a very cool one. First chapter response to Job. And so we'll see how God just keeps rolling in this direction. So Paula, thanks so much for joining and learning some stuff. And hey, we will talk soon. And by the way, Mount Lemmon, I just rode my motorcycle up there. So that was awesome. Anyway, you guys take care, okay? Bye-bye.